See, there's some black people that talk about we got to come together as black and brown people. We got to come together as a group. I'm like, right. Come together and do exactly what? Because brown people have their own agenda, right? People classified as Hispanic or Latino, they got their own agenda, which doesn't include people classified as black or African American, right? There is a separate agenda. They have their own agenda, and we have our own agenda. So they're never, not only that, the people who are classified as Hispanic or Latino, who want to consider themselves white as a race, right? They want to practice systemic oppression, white supremacy, similar to this guy right here, Ray Atisiano, who's arrested for framing black people in Biscayne Park, which is a suburb in Miami. And he can face up to 10 years in prison right now. He was arrested for 3 years. Someone had the kahunas to actually snitch on this guy and call him out for doing that. He tried to frame a 16-year-old. He wanted to frame just random people in Biscayne Park and get them arrested to make sure their stats were up to par and they have a 100% clearance rate. It's all about stats, massaging the stats, right? You learned that from watching The Wire. You can massage the stats and do what you want to do to make sure that your so-called area that you patrol and you so-called have law enforcement over, you want to make sure it looks good. So this guy Ray Atisiano, like I said, can face up to a maximum of 10 years in prison, which is far too little as far as I'm concerned, for trying to frame black people. And he's been doing this for quite some time. And like I said, in his latest, the latest individual he tried to frame was a 16-year-old, basically a child, a 16-year-old. He wanted to frame black people walking down the street, according to this article. He wanted to frame black people walking down the street in Biscayne Park, and say they had a criminal record and stuff like that. And that's what it is, man. You got these guys out here who act like they're white supremacists, but they technically aren't. But they're practicing systemic racism, white supremacy, right? That's when you have a specific job. You are a legislator. You work in politics. You work for the government, where you have the power and the influence to disenfranchise and marginalize a group of people based off race. And that's exactly what he was doing. So, yeah, fam, I just wanted to make this story real quick. I'll have the link to the story in the description where you can check it out yourself. But yeah, man, this has been happening. This exactly has been happening. And this is different than when a white supremacist or a suspected white supremacist say, hey, well, there was a black guy who committed a hate crime, and somewhere else, or, committed a hate crime, at a Jewish synagogue or something like that, right? That's different because the black guy, he's not a part of a system. He's not a part of law enforcement. He's not a part of the government. He's just a lone wolf, like what the mainstream media likes to portray against these mass shooters who are classified as white. This guy is a law enforcement officer who happens to be a high-ranking officer who can practice systemic racism because he has the ability to do so because of his job title and the system that's behind him, right? Big difference. So anyway, those are my quick thoughts about that, family. Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you guys think. Until next time, family, Chauncey, a.k.a. The Black Separatist, signing out.